So, what is really going on inside Red Bull Racing? Because if you told me last season that Red Bull, the most dominant F1 team of the hybrid era, would walk into 2025 and just casually sack the man who's been running the show for 20 years straight, I'd have probably laughed. But nope, this is real. Christian Horner, the man who literally built Red Bull Racing from the garage up, the guy who was there for their first ever Grand Prix in every championship since, has apparently just been booted out by Red Bull's upper management. And to make it even more wild, it's not just him. A whole chunk of the senior structure has reportedly been shaken up in what looks like an overnight coup. Right, this isn't just losing a team principal. This is the equivalent of Mercedes deciding to drop Toto Wolff mid-season because someone in marketing had a bad dream. This is Red Bull saying goodbye to the man who's been part race strategist, part politician, part Verstappen wrangler, and part reality TV villain for nearly 2 decades. And doing it without so much as a proper farewell press release, just quiet chaos behind the scenes. So what exactly triggered this? Who made the call? And how is this going to affect Red Bull's title fight and Max Verstappen's future with the team? Let's dive into this messy, high-stakes F1 soap opera, because this isn't just news, this is a sport-changing drama. Honestly, trying to pinpoint exactly where the Christian Horner downfall arc began, there's just so many plot twists that by the time you finish putting the pieces together, a whole new mess has already started. But if we're going to retrace the early cracks in Red Bull's impenetrable wall, we might need to rewind all the way back to 2016, the year Max Verstappen joined the senior team. Now look, it's no secret that Jos Verstappen never really had a warm, fuzzy relationship with Christian Horner. In fact, Jos has publicly taken shots at Horner multiple times over the years, especially when he feels the team isn't 110% orbiting around Max. Fast forward to the start of 2024, and that's where the real chaos detonated. Christian Horner was hit with some very serious accusations from a female Red Bull Racing employee, the kind of thing that had lawyers, media outlets, and keyboard detectives crawling all over the paddock. Red Bull launched an internal investigation, and in what felt like a suspiciously clean wrap-up, they declared Horner not guilty. Case closed, right? Except it wasn't. Just when things started to quiet down, an anonymous email allegedly containing evidence related to the Horner situation was sent to all 10 F1 team principals. You couldn't make this up. Whether that email was real, fabricated, or just part of some power move inside Red Bull, we still don't know. But from that moment, it was clear the trust lines were broken. Meanwhile, on track, Red Bull kicked off the 2024 season looking like their 2023 selves, fast, dominant, untouchable. But then something changed. After Miami, the RB20 wasn't quite cutting it. The gap to McLaren started shrinking, Ferrari even showed signs of life, and Max had to grind for every win instead of cruising with a 30-second gap. And sure, Max still pulled off some magic. That Sao Paulo win was legendary. Then came 2025, and tension was everywhere. Rumors started flying about Max Verstappen possibly jumping ship to Mercedes, especially with Toto Wolff pulling every string in the paddock like it's a season finale of House of Cards. Meanwhile, Red Bull made some confusing decisions, like dropping Liam Lawson mid-season and promoting Yuki Tsunoda, a move that didn't exactly scream championship intent, especially since Yuki's performances since then have been, generous would be calling it, inconsistent. Naturally, Horner started taking all the heat. Poor development, confusing driver swaps, a fractured relationship with the Verstappen camp, and the board losing faith in his leadership. And then came the British Grand Prix. But in reality, it turned out to be the last straw. Following another underwhelming team result and yet more questions about Max's future, the Red Bull board finally dropped the hammer. Just like that. 2 decades of leadership, championship glories, bitter rivalries, and meme-worthy press conferences. All gone. Alright, let's just ask the question that every F1 fan has probably screamed into their group chat by now. Why on earth would Red Bull choose to sack Christian Horner now? Like, we're not even officially at the summer break. This is not Abu Dhabi, not a ceremonial end-of-season farewell. This is straight up mid-season bombshell energy, and nobody, and I mean nobody, saw it coming this fast. Because if we just look at this on a surface level, from a purely performance-based lens, it doesn't add up. Max Verstappen, who is still somehow dragging that RB21 across the line like it owes him money, just got pole at Silverstone. Yes, he dropped to P5 on race day, and yes, McLaren casually flexed their superiority, but it's not like Red Bull's falling off a cliff here. The car still has pace. Max is still delivering by a decent margin. So this cannot be a "you're not winning enough" decision, because if that was the standard, 80% of the team principals on the grid should be on LinkedIn right now. Now, this feels like something much deeper, something way messier, something boardroom driven, because let's be real, Christian Horner has not exactly been the most loved figure within the upper Red Bull management circles since that scandal in early 2024. And apparently, despite Red Bull's internal inquiry clearing him, a lot of folks on the corporate side, especially Oliver Mintzlaff and the Austrian board, weren't exactly thrilled with Horner's choice to power through and remain in control. There were reports he'd been advised multiple times to step down quietly and protect the team's image, but Christian, being Christian, decided to dig in, keep the press conferences coming, and ride the storm out. And sure, he's stubborn, but also he's been with the team since day one. The man literally founded Red Bull Racing as we know it, so walking away quietly was never going to happen. So now, the shakeup is official. Christian Horner is out, and stepping in is a tag team nobody saw coming just a few months ago. Yes, the Racing Bulls team boss, who already made waves this season by steering the junior team through some actual competent strategy calls for once, will now become the CEO of Red Bull Racing, and taking over as team principal, none other than Alain Permain. Yep, the guy Alpine weirdly sacked last year and then instantly regret. Now he's the man running the show on the pit wall for one of the biggest teams in the sport. Alright, so after the shock of Horner's exit settled in, well, sort of, because let's be real, we're all still reeling, I did what every responsible F1 fan would do. I went on the internet. I dove headfirst into the cursed lands of Reddit threads, X comment sections, and shady Instagram carousels with 10-pixel resolution memes. And I kid you not, the fan theories are wild. And I mean better than Drive to Survive scriptwriting level wild. So, is that Max Verstappen is leaving Red Bull, like gone, out the door, off to Mercedes, or even taking a cheeky sabbatical like he's some kind of Dutch Rosberg. Now, before you throw your Red Bull cams at the screen, just hear it out. Because if this theory is even remotely true, then Horner being sacked isn't just about losing a principal, it's about losing the man who failed to keep the team's golden boy on board. Max is Red Bull Racing's entire identity right now. He's the face, the speed, the brand, the title chances, the championship hope, everything. If Max told the board either Horner goes or I go, and they couldn't convince him to stay, then boom, Horner's head was already on the chopping block. And come on, the writing has been on the wall for months. The Mercedes rumors, the constant side-eye from Jos Verstappen in the paddock, that weird vibe around the team since early 2024. Maybe Max figured Red Bull was no longer his best shot. If that's true, the entire team structure has to reset. New management, new direction, probably a completely new driver lineup, because it's like the Verstappen era just ended overnight. And telling you right now, we're on the verge of the most insane mid-season shakeup in Formula One history. No exaggeration. We're talking team collapses, driver migrations, management coups, and drama levels. So buckle up, save those Reddit posts, screenshot the rumors, because trust me, we're going to look back on this summer and say, yeah, that's when F1 completely lost its mind. And with that, I'll see you all at Spa.